Good morning, children. We are doing the lesson The Address by Margot Minko from the book Snapshots. We have learned till now that Margot Minko, who was a Jewish person, stayed along with her mother in a non Jewish locality. Because of the war, the mother and the daughter had to leave the place. And so, Mrs. Darling, who was an old acquaintance of Mrs. S., said that she would save all their nice things, and when they would return back, she would return back all their things. The address, number 46 Marconi Street, was given to the narrator by her mother. But after the war, as unexpected by Mrs. Darling, when the narrator returns to Mrs. Darling's house to take the things of her mother and hers, she was not allowed to enter into the house. She was upset. While she returned back, she remembered that she wanted to touch those things and remember and think about her mother. Feel the love of her mother. Remember her mother. So the second time she visits to Mrs. Darling's house. This time her daughter opens the door. And when she is moving in, she finds all the things that were placed in the house were theirs. So let's see what happens. We have done till page number 13, second para. We are going to begin from the third paragraph. My mother will be back soon, said the girl. I have already made tea for her. Will you have a cup? Thank you, the narrator said. I looked up. The girl put cups ready on the tea table. She had a broad back, just like her mother. You remember, last time we had read that she had seen the broad back of Mrs. Darling while she was taking a big suitcase from their house. She poured tea from a white pot. All it had was a gold border on the lid. Lid means cover. I remembered. Why remembered? Because that teapot was also theirs. She opened a box and took some spoons out. That's a nice box. So I heard my own voice. Now this nice box was also theirs. It was a strange voice, as though each sound was different in this room. The voice appeared to be strange, children, because the things that were of Mrs. S. and the narrator, now they were used as if they were there of Mrs. Darling and her family members. So everything appeared to be very strange because the things were kept in a tasteless manner, or because the things were of Mrs. S. and the narrator, but now they were used by Mrs. Darling and her family as if they were theirs. Oh, you know about them. She had turned round and brought me my tea. She laughed. My mother says it is antique. We have got lots more. She pointed round the room. Who is she? Mrs. Darling's daughter. So she pointed out round the complete room the antiques. See for yourself. So, see the irony, children, that the things that are of the narrator and her mother are shown by Mrs. Darling's daughter, saying that, see, that these all things are antiques. I had no need to follow her hand. Why? Because all those things, they were already well known to the narrator. I knew which things she meant. I just looked at the still life over the tea table. As a child, I had always fancied the apple on the pewter plate. So pewter plate is, children, a metallic plate on which the fruits are eaten. So here she says that she saw the pewter plate there on the tea table, and she remembered that on that plate, when she was a child, the narrator was a child, she used to eat apple. We use it for everything, she said. Why? Because they don't understand the value. Therefore, on the pewter plate, they could eat the other snacks also. Once we even ate off the plates hanging there on the wall. Now, children, in our house, there are many antique things. There are many decorative items that are not consumed, they are only for decoration. But as they do not value, darlings do not value the things that are of Mrs. S. Therefore, they ate food from the antique plates also. I wanted to so much, but it wasn't anything special. I had found the burn mark on the tablecloth. You remember, children, last time when we were reading, we read in the second paragraph, last two lines, that the narrator was trying to find from the woolen tablecloth a burn mark that was, she remembers, never mended. So now she has found that burn mark. The girl looked questioningly at me. Why? Because the girl looked the changed expressions that were on my face. Yes, I said, you get so used to touching all these lovely things in the house, you hardly look at them any more. So the girl says that, the narrator says that we get accustomed to the things that are there in the house when they are specially lovely. We get so accustomed to those things that those extraordinary, unusual things also appear to us usual or ordinary. You only notice when something is missing because it has to be repaired or because you have lent it, for example. So, according to the narrator, we notice about the things, extraordinary or lovely things, only when they are missing, because it has, and only in the cases when they are to be repaired, or because if we have lent to somebody, then only we get to remember those things. Otherwise, we do not remember or we do not pay attention to the things that are there in our house, even if they are extraordinary. Again, I heard the unnatural sound of my voice, and I went on. I remember my mother once asked me if I would help her polish the silver. It was a very long time ago, and I was probably bored that day, or perhaps I had to stay at home because I was ill, as she had never asked me before. I asked her which silver she meant, and she replied, surprised, that it was the spoons, forks, and knives, of course. And that was the strange thing. I didn't know the cutlery we ate of every day was silver. So she told Mrs. Darling's daughter that she felt that it was very regular with everyone. It was very usual with everyone. She remembers that one day when she was at home, her mother told her, asked her to polish the silver. That time she did not know that the cutlery with which they were eating food every day was actually of silver. The girl laughed again. So Mrs. Darling's daughter started to laugh again. I bet you don't know it is either. I looked intensely at her. Now she is confidently telling to Mrs. Darling's daughter that you also do not know that the cutlery with which you are eating food, the forks, knives, spoons, they are all silver. How can she say confidently? Because she has now till now understood that all the things that Mrs. Darling's family was using, they were all theirs. What we eat with? She asked. Well, do you know? She hesitated. She walked to the sideboard and wanted to open the drawer. I will look. It is in here. So Mrs. Darling's daughter wanted to see whether the narrator was speaking truth. I jumped up. I was forgetting the time. I must catch my train. She had her hand on the drawer. Don't you want to wait for my mother? No, I must go. I walked to the door. The girl pulled the drawer open. I can find my own way, the narrator said. As I walked down the passage, I heard the jingling of spoons and forks. So Mrs. Darling's daughter was trying to find out whether the narrator had spoken correctly. At the corner of the road, I looked up at the nameplate. Marconi Street, it said. I had been at number 46. The address was correct, but now I didn't want to remember it any more. Why? Because I wouldn't go back there. Because the objects that are linked in your memory with the familiar life of former times instantly lose their value when severed from them. You see them again in strange surroundings. So, children, she says that she wanted to forget the address because she did not want to return back there. She did not want to visit the address anymore. She says that those things, those objects that were linked with her memory, with the previous life, they were all when separated from them. When Mrs. Darling took all those things away with her, they instantly lost their value because now those all things were kept in a strange atmosphere, in a tasteless manner, in the way Mrs. Darling wanted to use. Now you can understand this. You give somebody some picture or some picture frame or something like that on as a birthday gift to somebody, and then when you visit their home and you find that the way, the intention with which you had given them, with the same intention they have not put that picture frame or whatever you had given them, they were not using it the way that you wanted them to use, then you will feel bad about it, and then you will never like to own that thing back, because once the things that are given and they are used by somebody else, that you don't want them to return back to you because they have lost value for you. So she says further, and what should I have done with them in a small rented room where the shreds of blackout paper still hung along the windows and no more than a handful of cutlery fitted in the narrow table drawer? After the war, what happened that though these people had removed the black sheets from the window panes, still there were some little pieces of paper left over the window glass panes. And the room appeared, rented small room appeared to be very untidy. Then further she says that what she would have done of those beautiful antiques, where she would have placed them on the wall, that did not give her any pleasure as when she used to live in her own home with her mother. And then there the drawer that she had now in the rented house, that was a small one. If she would have brought those silver spoons, forks, etc. in the house, rented house, it would have also not given her the pleasure. So she says, I decided to forget the address. Of all the things I had to forget, that would be the easiest. The most difficult thing to forget was the dead mother. Then the memories that were associated with the mother, with the house, with the old locality that they lived in, with the town that they lived in. So what was easy to forget? The address. The materialistic things we can easily forget, but the memories that are associated with those things, that are very difficult to forget. The dead mother, it was very difficult to forget. So that's all about the lesson, children.